Hi beautiful mamas, and welcome to Mother and Child card readings for insights and messages about a situation or your relationship with a child. And so for today's reading, our mother card is guidance and our child card is will. And we're going to put our child card to one side for now. And we invite all our angels and masters, or whomever your heart desires, to guide us and to bring insights into the situation with the intention of healing, peace, and the highest good of everyone involved. So moms, thank you for taking this moment to connect in with you. And giving yourself the space to lean in for some messages and insights. And just remember, it's a general reading, so follow your intuition and feel what resonates for you and go with that. So the first oracle card we have is guidance, and for those of you who enjoy symbolic language, we've got the number 47, which is a 4 and a 7 and adds up to 11, which is speaking about our path, our pathway, you know, the journey that we're on. And the tree in the middle here, let me lift that up and see if we can get a nice clear view, even though my light's not playing along with all. Has the core center of light, and it's reminding me of the as above and so below in the isness of us, and then a beautiful sphere around us, which is kind of like, if we think of our atmosphere, it protects and allows earth to grow and to expand and to, you know, do what earth does, but only because we have this protective sort of space and layer around us. And with the sun and the moon, the above and below, I'm very curious to see where this card of guidance takes us, because for me, it's feeling like it's not only saying that you are wanting guidance, but it's also letting us know that there is a part of you, you know, in color therapy or in, you know, many of the therapies that use color to symbolize. Purple is connected with the higher self, with, you know, our crown chakra, our connection with unconditional love, with the universe, with you know, our intuition, and yeah, so on one level it feels like there may be a seeking out of guidance, but on another level it's feeling like a message saying, you know, you're very open at the moment to receiving signs and direction and support on a level that feels that it can steer the way for you, or that you feel connected with it steering you. So any of the practices that you do to connect with being in that space of presence or signs, or, you know, sometimes it's as simple as like while we're cooking or singing a song in our car that can open us up to that space. And sometimes we have specific rituals that you know, I want to say like close us down or release our day at the end of the night, or open us up in the morning to our new day. And these put us in a space where we are more open to seeing the signs and synchronicities, or feeling the sense of direction. Because the number 11, like I may have said already, speaks to our path and our purpose. So before you even a mom, it feels that, you know, this card is speaking to your own sense of direction, your own sense of seeking support or receiving support. So let's see. I've pre-shuffled the cards, so I'm going to draw an angel card and an oracle card. I will list all the cards below in the description box. But let's see what we have. Ooh. Looks like we've got a color scheme going here with the purples. This is a beautiful card that if any of you are feeling anxious about your child's well-being or happiness, if any of your kids are going through separation anxiety, or if there's just, you know, they're on your mind, this is a reminder from the angels, or, you know, love, that your children are protected and cared for. And you can almost like reassure yourself, if you like. You know, you might find that you already do it. We have a way of saying goodbye to our children and saying hello again. Whether it's with a kiss and a hug or a wish for a good day, or whether we, you know, close our eyes and actually surround them with love and light or protection, or say a prayer. Sometimes participating in our ritual appeases our anxieties, but also from working a lot with children and having close relationships with them, it's beautiful to see that, you know, our children sometimes give us feedback and say, oh, mommy, I was thinking about you and I felt a golden hug, or, you know, I could feel you in my heart today. So not that that's required, but it's speaking more to the relationship that goes on even when we are separated from our children. And if any of your kids are in a critical space where their well-being, whether it's emotional or physical, is really hijacking you, or, you know, taking or calling for a lot of your attention. I'm also sending love to both of you for the situation and to everyone involved. For their recovery or for their healing, whatever that may be, or for yours. That's beautiful. It's very beautiful. And let's see, let's draw an oracle card. Oh, spiritual masters. So that's working really perfectly, or it's another message of, so with our spiritual masters and with our guidance, it's not that you need to go out and find yourself a spiritual master or to believe in a spiritual master, but when we, just before they've taken a name and a shape and a space, the commonality in so many of their teachings is our ability to, you know, bring our heart and our mind together in what I would call like the divine heart, when we are opening ourselves up to receiving a sense of love and a sense of support and a sense of direction in our own spiritual practice or in our own spirituality, and allowing the unconditional love that so many masters have spoken about to actually take a physical feeling inside of us, or to give ourselves a bit of time to remind ourselves that we are guided, we are loved, we are protected. And, you know, on top of this feeling of, you know, either needing reassurance, I'll say it again, there's also this feeling that you're open to it, whether by design or whether by force. It's a beautiful feeling here of, you know, almost the universe meeting you and you meeting the universe, and the love and protection that is surrounding your children feels like you're also surrounded by that. And I think that's that atmosphere allowed. And with that, it also, there's kind of like an intimate feeling of saying it's okay for you to come almost into your center and to just make a space for you where everything that's going on around you can actually pause for a bit, and you can, you know, whether it's a light or whether it's just a black spot or whatever it is, just give yourself that moment of quiet or calm or centered, even if it's just to say, you're okay, you got this, you're okay, you know? Okay, so let's see if we can get a little bit more clarification or info. I think I'm going to draw two cards. Oh wow, okay. So we've got completion and we've got playfulness. And I don't use the tarot cards in the sense of prediction, but the reason why I chose this specific tarot deck is because it does speak a lot to our emotional and relational self, and so yeah, I love them for that reason. They're the Osho Zen. It's actually called a game, transcendental game, but essentially they're a suit of tarot cards. And here, completion, and this is a master card, so this is really like once we have come to the end of something, and it's you know, a beautiful completion. It's something is over, and I can feel, you know, when I say, like when it's speaking to the readiness for guidance and the readiness for support, on some level, the sort of fogginess or the murkiness that's been confused or going through a process involves, that feels receded, at least on an element of you, of your growth, of your being. And this is a beautiful card that says, like, you know, you've come to a completion of it, and something is over. It's saying, well done, well done, and keep yourself open to the signs and the support and the love as you are moving from one space. And you know, this completion could be around something massive, something physical, or it could actually be a small realization that changes a lot for you and sort of sets you on a different course. And this card, playfulness, is actually reminding me of a small example of where for many years I considered myself not playful enough, and I would question, you know, especially since I work a lot with children, and I found it a bit perplexing that I wasn't playful in the sense that I play games, you know, and in my even in my personal life, I would never have categorized myself as a playful person. However, a fun person. I laugh a lot, see the humor in everything. But then a few months ago, realized that I'm actually incredibly playful, but I'm playful in the way that I approach healing, that I approach problems, that I speak with myself, that's the way I see things. And in that, the many years of seeing the inadequacy of playfulness, and sometimes it was really painful, because it would go so deep into like, oh, do I even seek joy? You know, we can go dark if we want to. And yeah, it was a very simple shift in thought, a very simple realization, but it kind of changed everything. And then showed me a whole different layer of how very playful I am, not in games, but in my language, in the way I teach, in my way of being, and able to bring lightness to some very tricky situations. So when we look at something completing, we tend to want to pin it down to something that we've produced or something that we've achieved. But it may be the end of a cycle, of a way of seeing yourself, or opening up to a more expansive version of you. And so the actual card playfulness is about a beautiful beginning. It is, and yeah, walking into it quite joyfully, walking into it because you've released something, and allowing that attitude to almost be a sense of direction or a sense of support, where you're like, okay, well, here I am, and I'm coming in, and I'm coming in open to it being whatever it is, and being light with myself about it, and giving myself the space to perhaps be creative or colorful or take a break, and while I'm thinking about my direction or my support or my signs, I'm in a space of playing in whichever way that I play. And yeah, laugh a little, laugh a lot. Okay, mother, so let's put our reading over here, and let's see what our kids' card reading has to say. I must say that I did giggle quite a bit when I saw this card. Well, mainly just because, we are often at the receiving end of our children's will and determination and their assertiveness. And yeah, I think it just made me giggle a little bit. I was like, oi, which way is this reading going to go? And what is this card going to tell us? But here we connect in, to the collective of the child, and to hear what messages are here. And I'm not going to go too deeply into this because I'd like to see what the other cards have to offer. But the first feeling, after the feeling of like that willpower is actually slow and steady wins the race. So I'm feeling like a pace here. So maybe our child is in a situation where they're needing to pace themselves a little bit. But let's have a look. And I see it's interesting here that direction comes up. I'll try again. I don't know about this light. I'll figure it out. The tortoise is in the desert, they're on their path, and I see that, direction and direction are both coming up in one way or another, but let's find out more. So let's take an angel card. Wow, we are definitely color scheming today. I promise you this is not pre-planned. It's very much appreciated and appeals to my, forgive me, I'm going to have a cough, and appeals to my Libra-ness, my sense of patterning. But yeah, so we got blue, and this is Merlina, and this card over here the message is about confusion and the need to do more research and seek advice, which once again makes me laugh because I'm thinking about a specific willful child. But what this card is actually, now that is bringing up. So our will is what takes us along our path and what drives us along our path and what gives us direction, you know. And here it's, so the number 3, expression, assertiveness, self-control and direction, and the color blue. So this does, like, I can hear the communication, I can hear like the verbal exchange here, and the sort of, you know, just the energy of the willpower. So, and what this card is speaking to me about is that, you know, when our kids in developmental psychology, as our kid goes from one developmental stage to the next, and while it projects it as if it's like one step that they take, there's actually multiple streams, we could say, within each developmental stage. So they may be having a physical growth spurt, they may be having an emotional growth spurt, they may be having an intellectual growth spurt from, you know, what they learn in at school, and they may be having a social growth spurt. So on whichever level of their life, they could be having a surge on one level, but so say now they're physically grown, but emotionally they haven't had their burst yet to catch up. And I suppose one of the examples is just before our children start being able to speak and use words and communicate well, sometimes they get very frustrated and they act out, you know, they might bite, or you can actually see that frustration because a part of them can, their physical body can, or their, you know, their mental body wants to, but their physical body can't yet. And so that sort of tension of frustration is what I'm feeling here, in terms of no matter how old our child is, it feels like that kind of a feeling in their developmental stage where perhaps a part of them has like grown and another part of them is still catching up, and there's a little bit of frustration of will, and with that, how they assert themselves, their ability to self-control and their expression may be causing some disruption from them, because I can feel this feeling of wanting to rush ahead, wanting to get there, wanting to be there already, but that the messaging coming in is that they almost need to be given a tempo. I'm sure for many kids who've got willpower, they've got enough temper, but like a tempo from you know, you or the universe, the whichever caregiver environment they're in, which we often express as, you know, teaching them how to be patient with themselves, or getting very interested in hearing what they want to do, and you know, assisting them on connecting with the part of them that this space and this time or in this situation is the tortoise, and it is going slow and they can't make it the hare, and how they sort of regulate that for themselves. And you know, within that there will be boundaries around what expression or assertiveness and the way that they do it, what is appropriate or not appropriate. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sugarcoating it here. It could be a very intense situation, especially if you're working with kids with you know, behavior issues or authority issues or any kinds of challenges that might make expression, assertiveness, self-control, and slowing down very, very challenging for them. And so, yeah, I'm getting one of the guidance and the patience, you know, may be relevant for some of you if this is a situation that is difficult or challenging or loud, you know. So let's draw ourselves an oracle card. This is the Marianne Williams oracle cards. Our work. I love that card because, so I know that this speaks to what our work as, you know, people are in the greater scheme of things will always be the returning to our own like sense of love and forgiveness and that space of, well, let me move this up a bit for you, sorry, I didn't realize they were down. Yeah, that space of patience. And while on one level it's saying, you know, having this connection with love and forgiveness will assist you as their caregiver, it's also perhaps giving insight or a message into the lesson that they are learning around being patient with themselves, about giving time to time, about slowing down and having the self-control, and in that learning how they assert themselves and how they experience themselves as powerful, and that interrelatedness of, you know, relying on adults, but also I do it myself. And if it's like older kids, it's the lessons of navigating, you know, in the bigger world, in how their self-control, their assertiveness, and their expression can really, really influence the direction that their life takes, you know. And if they have rushed ahead and they have experienced failure, and, you know, teaching them how to regain that sense of beautiful will, you know, because there's nothing wrong with our willpower. It just can be very misguided, and wanting to run before we can crawl is that feeling that's kind of coming up. So let's see what messages we have. I don't know why I keep on giggling. I think it's the way I'm sort of comforting myself. But okay, we've got compromise and we've got innocence, and this is such a beautiful card within this story over here, or within this message in here, because the compromise is more about them learning to compromise or regulate within themselves. You know, assertiveness or willpower can be very demanding in its immaturity. I want it now, I can't wait, you know, and the learning to, you see, these are two guys next to each other. Learning to kind of find the compromise within ourselves, which is the acceptance of, no matter how much I want it to be time for it to be the party or to leave for the party, it doesn't make it come closer, you know. And so we learn compromise by saying, okay, well, how about instead of filling that time with waiting, let's fill it with something interesting to do, you know. Or the compromise between, I feel so disappointed, but I really want to try again, or I'm too scared to try again. And how we teach them to hold, I suppose, that dissonance between what they can do and what they're still coming into being able to do. And this card of innocence here is really, really beautiful because it's reminding me of a feeling of wisdom, you know. It's with the number 3 and 6, because 3, 6, 9, I'm no numerologist, but for me it's feeling that this is also very much about the self and about like their path and their direction that they're on. And why the word innocence is giving me the strong feeling of wisdom is because in the slowing down and in the compromise and in the willingness for patience, you know, there's so much wisdom and insight and you know, answers and solutions that our kids actually see when they calm down, you know, about the upset, about not being able to go as fast as they want to go, or not being able to manifest their willpower. And yeah, I think it's also just reminding us that our children are small and maybe in need of our advice and guidance, if not complete supervision at times, but that their energy and their ability to think and their ideas and their imagination is as powerful wisdom and so tuned to their needs that, you know, when we start connecting, slowing down with the revelation or the sort of clicking in to like the wisdom and good ideas and, you know, a way forward that can get this tortoise moving, then our kids develop a sense of tolerance for their willpower, for their self-control, and for their assertiveness. So I'm wondering, I don't know, I have like a bit of a feeling that I'd like to ask, I know it's a general reading, if we could connect with, maybe is there anything that the child, the collective child, would like to share or ask. Oh, that one fell down, but that's okay. Or ask the mother. Okay, this is the card that fell out. Right, and there's a card of also, once again, like completion and celebration. So perhaps for some of you, a situation between you and your child, or an element of your relationship, has resolved or is resolving, but it feels like there's been a little bit of work around it. And this card is basically saying, like, it's a message from the kid, but to me it also feels like it's a message to the child of reassurance, saying, you know, you've done a wonderful job, like, keep on moving and keep on growing, and, you know, don't get caught up in whether you're going slow or fast. You know, if it feels like it's going slow, look to other places that you can really celebrate yourself. Not allow our children, especially once they get into the school system, to get too locked up in defining themselves by the achievements that they are recognized for at school, you know, and keeping their concept of themselves here, you know, in the wise and the innocent, in the spaciousness of them, so that they don't lose themselves just in the ability to achieve, you know, this next step that they're wanting to take. And I think this also feels like maybe an ask for, you know, when it's like the last stretch of a run and you just cheering them through, keep going, or, you know, they're trying to just finish off their homework and you're like, come on, my boy, we're nearly there. And, you know, it feels like that's like the kind of energy to say, like, you know, you're at the end, or you're nearly at the end, or you've done a great job, and, you know, well done. So encouragement and upliftment. So, and now I'm wondering if your spirit guides or if your messengers would like to give one more message for you, or to perhaps hear what should we do that? What would your higher self like to say about this situation with your kid? If there's any more messages for us. And please forgive me if you don't like me calling our children kids. It kind of just comes up that way, but no offense intended. Right. So what we got is the King of Michael, principled, rational, ambitious, and respected. Wisdom and objectivity are important now. Stay in your truth, a situation that calls for honest and open communication. That's a beautiful message, because it kind of just reinforces here where it is in a space of guidance, of wisdom, of objectivity, of thinking clearly, of being very connected to the core of you. And, you know, when we speak our truth, it can feel very supportive and loving towards us, but sometimes it clashes a little bit with what our children need or what our family needs. And this is just a reminder for you to stay connected with you, or take time to feel into that space if it's been feeling far away, you know, where our hearts and our mind are working together, you know, in the divine heart, which is just for us. It's not a religion, it's not a belief system, it's kind of like an energy space for us, in the sense of us, which is our truth and is our integrity. And yeah, sometimes that does clash with the people we are caring for. And so I think the overall guidance here is to really remember to stay there and let that be your sort of guiding light. What feels true for you, what feels to be your integrity in the situation, and take your direction from that. And being, while there's patience and there's empathy and there's openness here, it does speak to you know, being objective about it. And sometimes the space of objectivity can be so loving for us as moms, to have permission to actually just look at something and say, well, is this working or not working? It's not about how it should work or shouldn't work, or what you've done that's made it not work or work more. It's just objective in saying what is working, what isn't working. What are the options realistically that can support and provide at the moment, and what aren't options, you know? And yeah, that feels that your connection and your ability to communicate it lovingly, openly, but honestly, once you feel in the sense, because something which these cards spoke to is that something has changed for you and something's new for you. And whether it be small or massive, there's a need to communicate what's adjusted inside of you from an open and honest space, and feel your own support for yourself, you know, or allow communicating that to feel like support and love for yourself. So well done to both of you. It feels like there's, you know, a sense of both of you being in a similar, say, rhythm of completing, coming to an end, and, you know, something new coming from that. So I hope this was helpful to you, and if it was, please feel free to like, drop a comment and let me know. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the new reading, in the next reading, and I wish you a beautiful day, week, and see you next time.